to my eyes. When you see me on a show, when you see these fans, you know you've got the best in the damn world.
This is the Wrestling Matters podcast where we stand up for professional wrestling.
Here we fucking go!
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to episode 160 of the Wrestling Matters podcast. That's right, Wrestling Matters podcast, episode 160. I hope you guys are well. On today's show, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to talk Charlotte Flair. That's right, Charlotte Flair and my opinion on her finishing move. Her finishing move being the natural selection. More on that later. As a matter of fact, more on that coming up. Also, ICW barramania recap, as well as Raw, Smackdown, Impact Wrestling, and Ring of Honor as well. All the highs and lows of them coming up in the podcast as well. Like I say, a recap of the ICW show. I haven't seen the show yet. I will be doing the review at some point, but I'll give you a recap of what happened this week, like a rundown of what happened and all that, and all the shocking moments, because there was a shocking moment in that show as well. So I'll get to that later on. Also, Jeff Hardy as Universal Champion. What the hell am I talking about? Stay tuned. I'll talk about that later on as well. Also, I checked out JD from New York this week on YouTube. Look him up on YouTube channel. And he went down the 5 matches, in his opinion, that need to happen at WrestleMania 34. And I'm going to let you know what they are and give you my opinion on it. Whether he's correct, it should happen, or not. More on that later on in the podcast. Also, one of them is probably something that's already been talked about. It's been talked about since they both came to the WWE, and it needs to happen, and people still want it anyway, but I'll give you it later on. Also, ladies and gentlemen, we will have the second part, of the Lexa Rose interview as well. Second part of that coming up today on the podcast. Plus, a few other things here and there as well. But those are the main points, the main things that I want to do on the show today. And this show is on the Swerve Talk Network each and every week. I say this on Wrestling Unleashed. I say this on here as well. Wrestling Unleashed, Sunday Segway, Ruthless Aggression, Offshoot Radio, Max Wrestling, the list goes on. S&M Show, Wrestling Unleashed. If I've already said that, I apologize, but you know where I'm going with this. Each and every week, guys, check them out. You know where it's at. Wrestling Matters is even on there as well. Yay. Also, check out the Wrestling Matters podcast on SoundCloud. Look them up. Look Radio Big World up there on there as well while you're at it. And also AJW Wrestling Matters on YouTube. Wrestling Matters channel. Facebook.com/WM Podcast. Facebook at WM Podcast on Twitter as well. Look, it's very hard to say. Also, check out the partners as well. RFW, Raging Falcon, Wrestle Island as well. Facebook.com/Wrestle Island. Mystery Island as well. Facebook.com/Back to the Island on that. Check them all out, guys. You will not be disappointed. For more information on what's coming to Wrestle Island and Mystery Island, check out their respective Facebook pages. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I've got all them promotions out the way. Shout out to Talk Brunch as well. Rick Dara, check them out each and every week after Raw and when they can as well. Also, check out Rick Dara's Twitch channel as well. He does a few things here and there on there as well, so be sure to check them out if you want to keep up to date with anything Talk Brunch. At Talk Brunch on Twitter and Facebook.com/Talk Brunch as well. Now we get to the main points of this part anyway that I want to talk about. Charlotte Flair. I'll talk more about this as well in the way during the Smackdown review coming up, or the highs and lows. Charlotte Flair. Her finishing move is natural selection. She is now, like I'll talk about later on, she's now the number 1 contender for the SmackDown Women's Championship, much to the dismay of the SmackDown Women's Championship roster, the women's division that is. Her move is natural selection, or is called natural selection, I guess you could say. Why can't that move be called Bow Down to the Queen again? why was it changed from bow down to the queen to natural selection in the first place? I guess you could say it's because she's genetically superior and this, and this, yada, yada, yada. But in my personal opinion, I think that move is better suited as bow down to the queen. I don't know about you guys listening to this, but I believe it does. Because everybody still calls her the queen. Everybody thinks that she's the queen of the women's divisions. And the queen of women, the queen of women's wrestling. I'll go get some teeth after this. You know, it is what it is, guys. I mean, come on. Bow down to the queen is much more of a better name than natural selection. I mean, what is natural selection representing? The fact that she's genetically superior or something? It doesn't make sense, that name. At least in my opinion. I believe that bow down to the queen should be that name for that finishing move. Call any other finishing move you want after that, but bow down to the queen is more suitable for that flip over snapmare that she does. That she used to call bow down to the queen. Hell, she called it when she won the NXT championship back in when she beat Natalia on NXT. It's simple-minded, guys. Come on. I prefer that to be natural selection. I would rather call that natural bow down to the queen, than natural selection. I would prefer that to be natural selection. Then I would prefer it to be bowed down to the queen. I mean, come on. It's simple things, man. You know, it's more suited to be bowed down to the queen because they still call her the queen, and she makes the servants or the peasants, you know, the women's wrestlers that she wrestles when she beats them, bow down to her, you know. Excuse me if I have a creative brain here, but geez. The other thing that I want to talk about is Jeff Hardy and the Hardys. Only WWE wants to use the broken gimmick in WWE, which is what we expected him to begin with, especially with Matt Hardy doing his broken stuff still, even though he's got Anthem up his ass. But it seems that WWE want to make a deal with Anthem to be allowed to use the gimmick. I think so. I suppose you got to do what you got to do in the world to get what you want. I mean, maybe they've come to some agreement with Anthem to allow it, or they can maybe talk to them and come up with an amicable way they could do this without going through all this fucking hassle, you know, the lawyers and the court cases and whatnot. Maybe they can come up with some sort of arrangement. This is WWE I'm talking about. But it seems that WWE want to split the Hardys up to somewhat and make Broken Matt, you know, they want him to be Broken Matt, but they don't want to change Jeff. They want to keep Jeff as he is. That's what I've heard. They want to keep him as a singles wrestler, you know, as Jeff Hardy, not Brother Nero or Broken Nero or whatever that was. They want to keep him as that because they've obviously looked back to their records when Jeff was last in the company, and apparently back in the day, I think it was about 08, 09, he was selling merchandise like hotcakes. Because I think that was when he was the WWE champion. And this guy was selling fucking merchandise out of the park. And obviously WWE see that and want that to happen again. Which makes sense if he could do it. I mean, he would fucking blow Roman Reigns out the park. I mean, people like Jeff Hardy. Because he's a crazy bastard. But people like Jeff Hardy. The girls love him. Guys respect him because he's fucking crazy. I respect him. I'm a huge fan of Jeff Hardy. Always have been, always will be, despite the drugs and everything. I followed his career in Impact Wrestling, back when it was TNA and everything. He's a crazy bastard. And if he can draw merchandise and draw money, then why not? My theory on that is, since they're on Raw, though, the Hardys that is, will we see Jeff Hardy as Universal Champion? Is he going to be next in line to fight Brock Lesnar? Because apparently there's Finn Balor being talked about, even though I've been told that Finn Balor won't be in the title picture for a while. You know, there's the Roman Reigns Braun Strowman situation. Could Jeff Hardy be thrown into that picture as well to fight Brock Lesnar for the Universal title at some point? That would be interesting. Could we see Jeff Hardy as Universal Champion? I know there's a lot of matches on now they're on Raw. I'd like to see Jeff Hardy participate in. Jeff Hardy, Finn Balor being one of them. You know, maybe we see Jeff Hardy versus Brock Lesnar. I mean, if there's anybody who's crazy enough to fight Brock Lesnar, it's Jeff Hardy. You know, it's all interesting stuff. It really is. And I'm down for it, whatever. I mean, people would get Jeff Hardy anyway, because he's Jeff Hardy, for crying out loud. But would people take him seriously as Universal Champion? Would they rather see him as WWE Champion? I tell you what, though, if he does become Universal Champion, that would give that belt a lot of credibility that it needs to be established as a serious, you know, championship, you know, as a legit title. I mean, all right, Brock Lesnar's gone in, yes, Goldberg's been champion, and that would be a better idea than fucking Roman Reigns being a champion, even though there's talk about Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar somewhere down the road for Universal title. Triple H, Roman Reigns all over again. But yeah, I'm down for it. Jeff Hardy singles run, you know, Jeff Hardy is Universal Champion. But I think also they need to take advantage of the music as well that Jeff Hardy brings to the table. You know, the stuff that he's done at the in TNA, you know, the Obsolete, the Resurrection, you know, Similar Creatures. They need to make advantage of that as well. I mean, because Jeff Hardy's a talented motherfucker. He really is so talented, it's not even funny. He's got a great band with him, great songs. Use them. You know, turn him to Brother Nero if it needs to be. You know, maybe have a Brother Nero as a singles wrestler. I don't know. But I don't want to see another Hardy's feud like they did in TNA, which led to the Brother Nero stuff. I mean, I don't want to see that. You know, if you're going to do this, keep Matt Hardy on one side, out of the way, and keep Jeff Hardy on the other side. I don't want to see a Brother Nero, a Jeff Hardy, broken Matt Hardy gimmick, feud rather. I don't want to see that. If you're going to have them two in that way, put them together. Don't feud them. But certain things can happen, guys. Certain things can happen. But it's interesting to begin with because I'm really, really looking forward to Broken Matt. And there's one match that JD from New York mentioned later on, which I'll talk about later on, that needs to happen at WrestleMania and may very well happen at WrestleMania. Now both are on the brands. Both wrestlers are on the brand, and it involves Matt Hardy as well. So check that out later on. That'll be coming up in part 3. I end this part here. I'll be back in part 2 with Raw and Smackdown. So stay tuned. If you enjoy the Wrestling Matters podcast, why not check out the Wrestling Matters podcast right now on YouTube at AJW Wrestling Matters. You can also check it out on SoundCloud at Wrestling_Matters_podcast. That's /Wrestling_Matters_podcast. Also, check it out on Radio Big World as well. For more information on them, you can check them out on SoundCloud and the Swerve Talk Network as well. For more each and every week of the Wrestling Matters podcast, weekly podcast that talk about the best in professional wrestling today, whether it's WWE, Ring of Honor, TNA, ICW, Progress Wrestling, and the list goes on and on. Only the best in professional wrestling. Why? Because wrestling matters, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to part 2 of the Wrestling Matters podcast, guys, and let's get right into it. Monday Night Raw highs and lows, and SmackDown highs and lows as well. You know what, guys? Let's kick off with let's kick off with Raw. I'll get to SmackDown in a minute, because in my opinion, SmackDown was very lackluster, in my opinion, this week, but we'll get to that in a second. Braun Strowman's rampage continue. Now, it ended with a carbon copy of what happened the previous 2 times, but it was more lethal. But I'll get to that in a second. If I can find the stuff that I need, please. Fucking hell. Bear with me, guys. Bear with me. I want to whack my laptop in a minute. I am honest. There we go. There we go. Let's do that. I found them. It all ended this week, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, with the ring collapsing. I'm talking about Monday Night Raw. Unbelievable stuff. I'll get to that in a second. Let me just run through everything. General Manager Kurt Angle confronted Braun Strowman, warned him about his actions and everything like that. In what was a great match, Samoa Joe defeated Chris Jericho. Very good match between the two. Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson defeated Enzo Amore and Big Cass. Whoop-de-fucking-do. Miz TV saw the appearance of Dean Ambrose, and Miz went a little bit too far on Dean Ambrose, and it looks like it's going to be them two a payback, or whenever the next pay-per-view is after that. But there's a feud between them two. Like I said on Wrestling Unleashed, get Miz away from the Intercontinental Championship, man. Have him go for the Universal title or something, for fuck's sake. He's obsessed with that championship. At the rate he's fucking going, he'll break Chris Jericho's freaking record. Please, come on. Heel TJ Perkins defeats Gentleman Jack Gallagher. I'm sorry, but I even am getting sick of TJ Perkins now. First of all, he needs a new entrance, because the games thing now doesn't work for him. Now he's a heel. And this fucking dab. I wished Neville would have dabbed him in the fucking jaw with his foot. Seriously. You want something to dab about? Boom, right in the fucking jaw. I'm sorry, but TJ Perkins to me is becoming really fucking annoying. And he needs to think, even when he does a finishing move, he gets him into like a submission hold or something, and it's a dab. He has to put that fucking dab in. Take the dab out. Kurt Angle comes out and runs his mouth off after getting knocked out by the Big Show last week. He runs into Finn Balor, and Finn beats him in 30 seconds. Alexa Bliss defeats Sasha Banks, Nia Jax, and Mickie James to become the number 1 contender for the Raw Women's title. I don't have a problem with that. To be honest with you, that would be a good match. Bayley and Alexa Bliss for the Raw Women's title. Great match between Jeff Hardy and Cesaro. That was good. Very good. Probably the highlight of the show for me. And that's just building up to their tag team match at Payback. Maybe we'll see Matt Hardy and Sheamus this week as well, probably. And then it ended with the ring breaking during the Braun Strowman Big Show match. Did I want to see this as the main event? No, but I could understand why it was the main event considering the ring collapsing incident. And out of the other 3 guys that has took place, and there has been 3 in the past from what I remember. Mark Henry, Big Show, Brock Lesnar, Big Show on SmackDown once, and then this has to be the worst one of the lot. Because when they took the suplex, they did the suplex thing and they landed in the ring, the fucking ring just collapsed. If you look back on the Brock Lesnar Big Show, it bounced. Bounced before it broke. This, it just went, they both hit the mat and everything, and it just like, just collapsed underneath them. And the referee took one hell of a bump as well, which he got checked out for after the show as well, on the Raw Fallout on YouTube as well. So you see him getting checked out, but Jesus fucking Christ, that looked lethal. How Braun Strowman got back up, I'll never know. I will never know. But that was Raw for you guys, and now for a very lackluster SmackDown for me. And I don't think it was lackluster in the way of the show. It was just lackluster of the booking. It's seen Shane McMahon made a match between Naomi and Charlotte, which saw Naomi lose, and Charlotte gets now the number 1 contendership, and she will meet Naomi this week, in fact. Jinder Mahal defeated Sami Zayn, Dolph Ziggler, Luke Harper, Eric Rowan, and Mojo Rawley in a 6-pack challenge to become the number 1 contender for the WWE title, and will get a shot at Backlash. So much for Baron Corbin. Plus, it seems that Baron Corbin's push is not going to be rushed. They're looking to change him a little bit, change his music and everything else. So the push is coming. They just don't want to rush it yet, from what I've been told. And with the thing with Jinder Mahal is they want to get into the Indian market. And they want a heel person, they want somebody to push who has Indian heritage, so they can push into that Indian market out there as well, because they just hired somebody to be the vice president of relations over there in India for the WWE. So yeah, they want to be in that kind of way. Jinder Mahal is the perfect one, even though I think they were considering this for Rusev, but Rusev's injured at the moment, so Jinder Mahal gets the nod. And I hope it works out for him, because he's got the Bollywood boys as well in there, who are the Psy guys, I believe, somewhere around about that, but he's got a heel group coming as well, so I really hope this works out for him, and they can use him to its full potential and really work on it, because it has the potential to be something big for SmackDown. Will it be? I don't know. That's up to the booking. Charlotte Flair beats Naomi, like I said. Primo and Epico, yes, the Colognes, not the Shining Stars or the Matadoras or whatever the fuck they were called. The Colognes beat American Alpha, new and improved Primo and Epico as well, and I'm very happy about that. They don't need a gimmick, just let them be themselves, like Kinny said on Wrestling Unleashed. Let them be themselves, let them be this tag team, maybe bring Carlito back, and let's get them into an established position, and maybe SmackDown Tag Team Champions in the future. Kevin Owens beats Gary Grady in the face of America Open Challenge, which yawn, all leading into AJ Styles and Kevin Owens for the US title at Backlash. And AJ Styles one-on-one with Baron Corbin. Now, I didn't have a problem with the match as the main event. It was a great match. I had a problem with AJ Styles winning by countout. I didn't want to see that. I wanted to see an outright winner. Even if you wanted to put Baron Corbin over on AJ Styles, I'd have been happy either way. But yeah, that was SmackDown, guys. Very lackluster for me. And I think the highlight of the show, interesting part was seeing Jinder Mahal in a way, but I don't understand it, to be honest with you. But I can understand it now that I've looked into it, why they've done it with the old Indian market thing. Will it work? No. Will he be WWE champion? No. Well, at least not right now anyway, so we'll have to wait and see on that one. And the whole AJ Styles, Kevin Owens thing is building up, and hopefully we'll have a great match at Backlash. And the highlight of the whole show for me was Charlotte Flair beating Naomi. That's how lackluster SmackDown was this week. In any event, guys, hopefully it'll improve next week. And they lost 500,000 views in the ratings this week as well. So that's how bad it was. But hey, that's the superstar shake-up for you guys. That's the superstar shake-up. With that being said, guys, that is the end of this part 2 of the Wrestling Matters podcast. I'll be back in part 3 with Impact Wrestling highs and lows, and JD from New York's best 5 matches that he wants to see, in his opinion, at Wrestlemania 34. That should happen, and that needs to happen if WWE ever want to make them papers again. Papers being money. So I'll give you the rundown after the break, give you my opinions, and then I'll give you the Impact Wrestling. So stay tuned.
Wrestling fans, look no further for the most unpredictable wrestling podcast you've ever heard on the Max Wrestling Podcast, hosted by me, Dazzy Dangerously, with everybody's favourite captains, The Phoenix, The Butcher, and Mike Larkin, plus special guests, promos, and trivia.
Find out what's been going on in wrestling history as I take you down memory lane every week.
And The Butcher's Stupid Idiot of the Week gets it!
And see if you agree with me as I choose every week's segment of the week in the world of wrestling.
The Max Wrestling Podcast is available on
YouTube, Podomatic,
Mixcloud, and SoundCloud.
And the Swerve Talk Network with other great shows.
Follow us on Twitter, Instagram and Facebook at Max Wrestling UK or go to our website maxwrestling.wix.com/maxwrestling.
And that's the bottom line.
because we're out of time.
Yellikaliki Maka.
Listen in, man.
Be sure to listen to the Sunday Segway Wrestling Podcast.
What?
Every Sunday with Kinny Killer and the Galdem Sugar Shugs.
Yes! Yes!
With all the news, views, and laughter that you want.
They like jet airplanes. Woo! They like long limousines.
Every Sunday, the Sunday Segway Wrestling Podcast on Podomatic, iTunes, and YouTube.
So why don't you choke on that, slap nut?
Welcome back to part 3 of the Wrestling Matters podcast, guys. Now it's time for highs and lows of TNA and JD from New York's 5 matches that he thinks should happen at WrestleMania. And I'll let you know if I agree with him or not. First of all, let's talk TNA. TNA this week started off. It was all right, actually. Funny moment of TNA was when Karen Jarrett came out. Cut a promo, did a segment. And what I loved about it, right, God's honest truth, she came out and announced that GFW and Impact Wrestling were forming a partnership. Somebody please break the news to her that we already knew that anyway, okay? We already knew that anyway. I mean, it's pretty hard not to realise that GFW and Impact Wrestling are forming a partnership when the fucking owner of GFW was running the damn company, for goodness sakes. That was just insulting, full stop right there. But she announced it, and even Sanjay Dutt came back and wanted in the main event, which was the X Division Championship, which turned into a 6-way X Division title match. So basically Impact Wrestling screwed Andrew Everett out of his one-on-one match. But it got interesting though. Although it was a great match between the 6 guys that were in, even featured Suicide, how he got that gig, I'll never know. It was Low Key that won the X Division Championship. Yes, Low Key, Triple X, and all of that. Yeah, he's back. He's not Caval, he's Low Key, or Senshi, as he was once known. It's Low Key. He's now your X Division Champion. Like I said, great match. Shocking that he returned. I don't get why he wears a suit to the ring. Could somebody explain that to me? Caval used to come out with Senshi rather than Low Key and all that. He used to come out Warriors and all that. He used to come out with short things. He's been wrestling in Japan, but he wears a suit. Why does he wear a suit? He doesn't look right in it. He looks hilarious though, I'll give him that. But yeah, he doesn't look right in it. It's bad. It really is bad, man. But Low Key is your X Division Champion. Lashley beats James Storm and retains his World Championship with a little help from EC3. Why did Josh Matthews come out? I thought he'd left. He comes out with Bobby Lashley and sits at the announce table. Why, I don't know. But I'll get to that in a second. I'll get to the rest of that in a second. Congo Kong destroys Chris Silver. Rosemary retains the Knockouts title against ODB. Yada, yada, yada. And LAX dominate and make a statement to Impact Wrestling that they mean business. And boy, do they ever, let me tell you. They mean business. And it's going to be Decay and LAX next week, or this coming week, on Impact for the Tag Team Championships in a street fight. Now, another funny moment on TNA this week. Magnus gets an interview backstage, and where's the GFW title? He's shortest, because he's the reigning GFW champion. Interesting to see how that pans out, whether or not he'll defend the title on Impact Wrestling, but we'll have to wait and see, I guess. Like I say, a great match between Storm and Bobby Lashley, but EC3 turns heel. And yes, Dipshit is back. I'll get to that in a second, though. And yeah, Moose has developed some rivalries. The man known as Chris Masters, Chris Adonis, sets up Moose, and Davey Richards attacks, and apparently it's going to be Moose next week, one-on-one with Davey Richards for, I'm guessing, the Grand Championship, Global Force Championship, Grand Championship. But the best moment of the night is Josh Matthews gets cocky again towards his former partner at the announce table, the Pope. Pope tells him to go to hell, and then gets in JB's face and says, you ain't got the balls to hit him. So what does JB go and do? Loses his temper and punches him right in the fucking mouth, much to the shock of Josh Matthews. Good on you, JB. Hashtag fire Josh Matthews. full stop, and I mean full stop. I talked to somebody about this on YouTube. When he meant leave the company, I thought you meant left the company full stop. And people always say, oh, because he's Madison Rayne and Madison Rayne. Who gives a flying fuck about Madison Rayne? If she doesn't like it, she can go with him. Fuck that. Get Josh Matthews out of Impact Wrestling. Full stop, please. Otherwise, I'm going to have a very hard time. If not, get him off the announce table. Get him out of wrestling. Get him out of the company, please. Otherwise, I'm going to have a very hard time watching Impact. And I don't want to have a hard time watching Impact. I want to watch Impact. Because Impact, I'll give them credit. It's getting good. The only thing that's bad about Impact Wrestling at this moment in time is that disease named Josh Matthews. But anyway, I digress. 5 matches, according to JD from New York, that he thinks needs to happen at WrestleMania 34. Now, let's see. The first one he brought up was the Club versus the Shield. Now, you're probably thinking to yourself, well, we can't do that. AJ Styles is on Smackdown. No, he reckons there should be a Finn Balor heel turn, and he's ready for a heel turn. Have him join up with his boys, these old boys, the Balor Club, Anderson and Gallows, and reform the Shield, because the Shield is basically on Raw now. All 3 members are on Raw now. Ambrose, Rollins, and Reigns. And he reckons he will give Reigns a rub, in babyface terms, because he's been getting nuclear heat. And there's all these rumors flying around that it's going to be Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns again at WrestleMania, this time for the Universal title, and they're going to do it all over again and try and put the belt on Reigns, and give him that rub. They've already done that before, it hasn't worked. They're wasting the time. So maybe this could work and give him that babyface, rub, if you will. Will it work or not? Will it work that much? I don't know. But the last time the Shield were about, he was just that silent hitman that didn't talk that much and struck when he needed to strike. He needs to do that again. And I agree with JD on this one. Maybe doing that for the time. It doesn't have to be long term, be short term. But maybe doing that is the best way forward for Reigns in that respect. Reform the Shield, give him that little bit of rub, that nuclear rub. Because let's face it, the 2 guys that were over in that group, Dean Ambrose, Seth Rollins. Period. But we'll see how that pans out. And as for Balor, they brought Finn Balor back and they have him team up with the guy who basically put him out of action, Seth Rollins. That's a heel turn right there. And I agree with JD on this one as well. That's a heel turn right there, because if somebody put you out of action, you would want to go for that guy as revenge, Get some revenge, get some payback, if you will. So I can understand where he's going with that one, and maybe that needs to happen as well. But the Club, the Balor Club, whatever you want to call them, Gallows, Anderson, and Balor versus the Shield at WrestleMania. Make it happen. I'll get the one out the way that everybody talks about, and that's AJ Styles and Shinsuke Nakamura. Everybody's talked about this. JD wants this at WrestleMania. Everybody fucking wants this at WrestleMania. They have the opportunity to do it now on SmackDown because they're both on the same brand. Work something out with this, whether it's for a title or not, I don't know, but everybody wants this. Everybody wants to see this happen. Everybody wants to see this go down, because hey, if they can do it at Wrestle Kingdom, check out Wrestle Kingdom 10, I believe it is. They fought for the IWGP Intercontinental Championship, and it was a brutal match. It's all right, so this could if that happens at WrestleMania 34, it will definitely steal the show. No doubt about it. Make it happen, guys. The other one is a feud that he wants to see. That was 2. This is 3. The other one that they want to see, that he wants to see, is a feud that basically started on Twitter between Matt Hardy and one Bray Wyatt. Broken Matt Hardy, Bray Wyatt. You have them both now. Yes, Bray Wyatt should have stayed on SmackDown, but you have them both. And with all this talk about Broken Matt coming in, they want to use the broken gimmick on Matt Hardy and keeping him separate away from Jeff Hardy and allow Jeff Hardy to have maybe one last run as World Champion or Universal Champion or whatever the fuck champion he can get. Why not set this up for WrestleMania? It would be fucking epic. Bray Wyatt one-on-one with Broken Matt. Feed off that Twitter feud, that Twitter back and forth rant thing. And correct me if I'm wrong, didn't Bray Wyatt get heat for that? He got bollocked for that, for doing that. That's just what I heard anyway. I'm pretty sure that happened, but yeah. Broken Matt, Bray Wyatt, WrestleMania. Make it happen. So that's the Club versus the Shield, the Balor Club versus the Shield. Broken Matt versus Bray Wyatt. AJ Styles versus Nakamura. Brock Lesnar versus Samoa Joe is on that list as well. Now, apparently, Lesnar's contract is up at WrestleMania, after WrestleMania 34. I would like to see this more than Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar, because you've got the King of Suplex City and you've got the legit badass and Triple H's henchman. There's talks about this as well. There's been talks about this before. I would love to see this happen. And if not at WrestleMania, book it for SummerSlam. Samoa Joe one-on-one with Brock Lesnar. That would be fucking awesome. I'd cash my chips on that one. I'm fucking all in. Because you got a MMA fighter. You got 2 MMA fighters, basically. You got a guy who's fought in MMA and a guy who has an MMA style about him and kicks the shit out of you. Please throw that in. Please make that happen for WrestleMania. Samoa Joe would be a better opponent for Brock Lesnar than Roman Reigns. Unless you can find a better opponent than Samoa Joe, please make that happen. I would love to see that. And I believe the match that should happen, you got Charlotte Flair, the most dominant female in the company at the moment. There's no question about that. She's the queen. She's the top girl, definitely the top, or going to be the top girl on SmackDown, top female on SmackDown. There's no question about that. Just a matter of time before she becomes women's champion on SmackDown. Just a matter of time. But who do you want her to see? Who would be the perfect opponent for her at WrestleMania 34? And I agree with JD on this one as well. Asuka, the dominant female on NXT. She's coming up to the main roster sometime soon. When, I don't know, but she's coming up this year. Surely to God she's coming up this year. Asuka, Charlotte Flair, dominant female on NXT versus the dominant female on the WWE main roster. Make it happen. WrestleMania 34. That would be the perfect opponent for Charlotte Flair at this moment in time. Yes, there's Becky Lynch. Yes, there's other people as well. But they're not ready for that yet. Asuka, dominant female on NXT versus the dominant female in the main roster. Do it. I would be all in with that. And I totally agree with JD on these matches. I would probably say all 5, to be honest with you. Even though the AJ Styles Nakamura match is talked about. It's been talked about since Nakamura came to WWE and since AJ Styles has been in WWE as well. Get them both on the same brand. Let's make this shit happen. WrestleMania 34. And if that Nakamura Styles match happens, it would definitely steal the show. But there you have it, guys. That about wraps it up for this part. Hope you guys enjoyed that. I will be back in part 4 with Ring of Honor and ICW barramania recap as well. So, yeah, stay tuned.
Be sure to listen to the Sunday Segway Wrestling Podcast.
What?
Every Sunday with Kinny Killer and the Galdem Sugar Shubs.
Yes!
With all the news, views, and laughter that you want.
They like jet airplanes. Woo! They like long limousines.
Every Sunday, the Sunday Segway Wrestling Podcast on Podomatic, iTunes, and YouTube.
So why don't you choke on that, slap nut?
Hey guys, this is Mike Larkin.
And this is Stevie Nicks.
To check out the S&M Show podcast and more great audios, check us out on SoundCloud at soundcloud.com/MCLarkin92. And we are now on the Swerve Talk Network, Fridays, 9 p.m. Eastern, 3 a.m. UK time, along with the Max Wrestling Podcast, Offshoot Radio, Sunday Segway, and the Wrestling Matters Podcast. And also follow us on Twitter at SMShow1 and at SteveNicksSM. You won't be disappointed. Peace.
Welcome back to part 4 of the Wrestling Matters podcast, guys, and now it's time for Ring of Honor and ICW. We'll get to Ring of Honor first. Ring of Honor this week had Caprice Coleman go one-on-one with Chris Sabin in what was a good match. Good one-on-one match. Yes, Kenny King tried to get involved, but Leo Rush put an end to that and put a halt to all of that, and Leo Rush cost Caprice Coleman the match, and Chris Sabin manages to get the victory. So the feud between Caprice Coleman and the Rebellion and Leo Rush lives on. Roppongi Vice beat Will Ferrara and Cheeseburger. Ferrara just left Cheeseburger after the match because they wanted to shake hands and everything, do the Ring of Honor, Code of Honor thing. And Will Ferrara just walked away for some reason. And the 8-man tag, which it was like a wild card 8-man tag, and the winning team will compete in a fatal 4-way match, which I'm guessing would be next week, or this coming week, this coming Wednesday or Thursday, whatever it is, for the Ring of Honor. The winner gets a world title shot. The teams were Silas Young, Adam Page, Jay White, and Jay Lethal versus Colt Cabana, Leo Rush, Hanson from War Machine, and Bobby Fish. Page walks out on his team and Kaz jumps him from behind because Page attacked Kaz in a parking lot as revenge for what Kaz did to Adam Cole and everything, costing him the world title. But Kaz manages to jump Page in the alleyway as Page is walking out, and there's a feud going there. But the winning team was Silas Young, Adam Page, Jay White, and Jay Lethal. They will compete in a fatal 4-way match. The winner goes on to face Christopher Daniels for the Ring of Honor World Championship. I have a funny feeling it's going to be Jay Lethal winning that match, but that's just my view on that. We'll find that out, I'm guessing, this coming week. This was last week. I'm guessing this coming week we'll find out the Fatal 4-Way. I'm guessing that'll be the main event. Plus, also this coming week is the finals of the Top Prospect Tournament. Right now, ladies and gentlemen, there's no Fight Club this week, but I'm going to give you a recap on ICW's Barramania. So, you know what time it is now? You know what time it is.
I got something to say from another dimension.
Yep, it's time for ICW. Now, time for ICW Barramania 3. Guessing it's Barramania 3. Just let me double check that. Yep, Barramania 3. Kicked off with the Zero G title open scramble match, which saw Matt Cross, Flash Morgan, Webster, Ravy Davey, Charlie Sterling, Zach Gibson, and BT Gunn. Face off in the scramble match with Kenny Williams for the Zero G title, and Kenny manages to beat them and retain the belt. Like I say, I've only been in and out of this show, guys, so bear with me. I haven't done it. I will do a few review of the show in the weeks to come, but this is just a recap to let you know what happened. It was a good show nonetheless, no question about it, but this is just like a recap, and kicked off with Zero G Championship being retained by Kenny Williams. I said on recent podcasts that Polo Promotion would have their hands full. They would have their hands full with War Machine, and I was right, because War Machine, who are the current IWGP champions, beat Polo Promotions. That's right. They beat Polo Promotions, and hey, full credit to them. And apparently, they don't plan on making it their one-night stand. Everybody was expecting, War Machine be a one-night stand. No. They're looking to make an impact, so may we see War Machine as ICW Tag Team Champions. Interesting thought. Chris Renfrew went 1-on-1 with Stevie Boy in a last man standing match. The story of the match was the return of Mikey Whiplash. And apparently there's a feud going to happen now with Whiplash and Stevie Boy, guessing going into Suge's house party in July. Shah Samuels and Kid Fight. Shah manages to get his win. And like it says in here as well, the whole fight started in a car park and then ended up in the ring. Where have I seen that before? Oh yeah, WrestleMania 12, okay? WrestleMania 12. The only thing they didn't have was the car chase. The Hollywood Backlot Brawl. They didn't have the car chase. That's the only thing they had. But Shah manages to get his victory. Davey Blaze and Kelly Ray beat DCT and Viper in the mixed tag match. Drew Galloway defeats Jack Jester in a barbed wire rope match. And apparently this was Drew's goodbye, since Drew is now in NXT. Drew McIntyre in that. Joe Henry and Lionheart was thrown out due to a kick to the skull by Lionheart and all that. I don't know what the hell that feud is, but it's personal between them two. There's no question about that. And they reckon that Lionheart will be suspended for his actions. Wolfgang beats Grado. Bird and Board retain the tag team championships against Rampage and Ashton Smith. And Joe Coffey and Trent Severin. Joe Coffey is now the ICW World Champion. Now, the two shocking moments were, one, the return of Red Lightning, and two, the fact that he has signed Joe Coffey as the ICW World Champion, and he turned on Mark Dallas, giving him the discus clothesline, and Grado has joined forces with Red Lightning. That's right, good old life is a mystery. Grado is now a heel. There's a sentence I never thought I'd say, ladies and gentlemen. Grado is a heel. But Grado is now a heel in ICW. Whether he's a heel anywhere else, I don't know. But he has joined forces, and he has now aligned himself with a new sports and entertainment agent, whatever the heck it's called. Basically a Monday wannabe Paul Heyman and Red Lightning. Yeah, interesting, isn't it? ICW gets interesting by the day. And it's actually interesting the fact that Grado is now on a heel. Interesting to see where that goes. But I'm guessing Fight Club will be back probably next week. So hopefully we'll have some more information and more stories on that as well. But I'm looking forward to seeing ICW now. Where's this going with Red Lightning? Is it going to be another Mark Dallas versus Red Lightning confrontation that we've had for the past year when he tried to take the company over? Hopefully not. Just allow Red Lightning to be a manager, and we'll see where that goes at the end of the day. But as long as Red Lightning is not a complete pain in the ass like it was before, I'm down. ICW, the shit, ladies and gentlemen. Right, I'll be back in part 5, guys, with part 2. I'm going to play part 2 of the audio from Lexa Rose, and I'll be back after that with an outro, so stay tuned, guys. Are you sick of professional wrestling? Do you want to speak your mind about professional wrestling? Well, if you like a wrestling podcast, why not tune in to the wrestling podcast where wrestling matters, the Wrestling Matters Podcast. Each and every week, I talk about the best in professional wrestling from WWE, TNA, ICW, Progress Wrestling, Ring of Honor, and the list goes on and on. Also, on the other occasions, I bring guests in as well to shoot the breeze about the one thing that I love, that we all love, professional wrestling. So join me each and every week for the Wrestling Matters Podcast on YouTube, AJW Wrestling Matters, the Wrestling Matters YouTube channel, SoundCloud, soundcloud.com/wrestling_matters_podcast, and any other podcasts that matters. Wrestling Matters, wrestling fans. If you like the Wrestling Matters Podcast, why not follow the Wrestling Matters Podcast now on Twitter at WM Podcast for all professional wrestling news. Wrestling Matters, wrestling fans. What really annoys me in a way, though, is they've actually brought JR back as well. They brought him back. Apparently, he signed a 2-year contract, even though he called the match at Wrestlemania, which we'll get to later. But I was always thinking, can you imagine them two on the same announce team? I mean, that would be amazing in its own right. And now for this to happen, God.
And it's unfortunate because now we'll never know.
Yeah. I mean, hopefully they get this sorted out, and Ronaldo, who's apparently going back to his boxing and MMA stuff that he was doing before this, hopefully they can get him back in and maybe kick JBL out, sack JBL and stick Ronaldo back in the middle where he belonged and replace JBL with Tom Phillips.
Yeah, I actually like Tom Phillips. I like the new commentators, the young blood. I'm pleasantly surprised at how well, the young guys are coming up in the commentating team. I mean, they're really good. I mean, I still, love JR and the King as like the ultimate commentating duo. But then, I kind of grew to like Michael Cole, as annoying as he is. But it's still nice to have young blood and know that there's going to be at least someone that's going to be able to pick up where all these greats have left off, because life is never guaranteed.
I will say this though, I definitely prefer Michael Cole, and I can't believe I'm actually saying this. I prefer Michael Cole to one Josh Matthews in Impact Wrestling.
Oh boy,
I
like Josh Matthews, poor kid.
I fucking despise that guy. Ugh. Anyway, but yeah, I mean, what's your take on JR coming back? I know we'll probably talk about this a little bit more during WrestleMania.
I thought it was awesome that I thought he calling the Undertaker's final match was like really awesome. Like nobody else could have done it but him. So it was nice to see him back.
Yeah, not to sound like a dick or anything, and I don't mean to. And I can't help feeling this. But I'm glad they brought him back. Don't get me wrong. I'm glad WWE brought him back. But I can't help for feeling that they threw JR a bone. Because JR's been through hell the past past month or so. I mean, the poor sod's lost his wife. And do you think him coming back to WWE is possibly sympathy from WWE saying, you know what, Jim, come on back. You can come with us. You can come back and work with us again and all that. Because they fired him for something stupid before. That little 2K seminar involving JR, who's the host, Stone Cold, Daniel Bryan, Ric Flair, Paul Heyman, and Mick Foley and others. And a lot of stuff went down there involving Ric Flair and everything, and JR got the blame for that. So, I mean, I don't know what you think about this, but I can't help think they just threw him a bone, say, hey, come on back. And they've just done it because of what's been going on, basically. I mean, what's your take on that? I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm glad he's back. But I can't help but think that.
I don't want to think that that's what happened. I think maybe they did it as like a little bit of a distraction from I mean, you lost the love of your life. You're going to feel it, right down to your bones. So I think maybe they did it out of sympathy, yes, but I think more, to keep his mind off of it. Because once you lose someone you care about, you start to get depressed, and then, it kind of spirals down from there. Maybe they wanted to make sure that, that didn't happen with JR, and they kind of kept him like, hey, we want to keep you, kind of distracted in a way, like constructively distracted from, what you're going through, and, give you like some sort of hope that, it's not all, bad from here.
I mean, don't get me wrong, it could possibly be that, or it could possibly be the fact that WWE might be shit scared of the fact that World of Sport is coming back in the UK. And if WWE hadn't brought back JR the way they've done and everything, maybe JR would have been the lead announcer for WOS, because the last time WOS was on TV was the new year, at the beginning of the year, and it did well, and JR was the lead announcer of that. He was announcing on that with Alex Shane, so maybe WOS thought, well, if we can get Jim Ross on here, that'll be great and everything. He can start calling wrestling again, and he can come on here. But obviously WWE have spoiled that now, haven't they? And he's back with WWE. Don't get me wrong, I'm glad they brought him back, but yeah, it's 50-50. I'm just happy he's back at the end of the day.
Yeah.
I'm just happy he's back at the end of the day. What's your take on, shockingly as well, NXT? Drew McIntyre's back.
I know.
Formerly Drew Galloway to you and now, ladies and gentlemen, if you watch ICW. But I got the shock of my life when I woke up Sunday morning, the night after NXT TakeOver. I've seen NXT TakeOver. It was a very good show, but then again, that's NXT for you. And I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Drew Galloway, McIntyre, in NXT.
Yeah, it was. Well, I didn't get to watch all of NXT TakeOver because we had done a show that weekend, and we weren't able to watch it until the next day, which was WrestleMania morning. And we were trying to watch it before WrestleMania started, but then the kickoff started at 5. And yeah, we didn't get to watch the whole thing, but we did hear about it, and we thought it was actually pretty cool because he had been. I know that he had been Vince's favorite for a time, so I figured maybe Vince was like, I want him back.
Yeah.
But it was nice though to see him back.
Yeah, we'll stick him in NXT though this time. And again, get him like developed and everything, and hopefully this will work out for him this time around. I'm not keen because the way they've fucked him over the first time around. But the previous night, he was defending the WCPW title to Rampage Brown at State of Emergency, the WCPW show, because WCPW, What Culture Pro Wrestling, were over in America on WrestleMania weekend. So he was defending their title the previous night. So I don't know what the hell this leads to, because at the moment right now, as we're doing this, from what I've got, he's the WCPW champion. That's what I've got. I mean, WCPW hasn't been around yet, but it'll be back soon. I'm pretty sure of that. But yeah, the last time I checked, he was WCPW champion. Wow. So where this leads, and April 16th, which is, as we're recording this, it's April 9th, so that's next week, Easter Sunday. He's going to go to ICW for barramania and face Jack Jester, which leads me to believe that now that may very well be leaning towards a loser leaves town match with him and Jack Jester. And if that's the case, then we all know who's going to win the match. Jester.
Yeah.
Because McIntyre is now back in NXT. So I don't know if this is a full-time deal. He wants to be, from what I got in the interview, he wants to be NXT champion. That's what I've got. That's one of the reasons why he's back.
Yeah.
So whether this leads to him being back on the full-time roster very soon as well remains to be seen. But I'm interested. To see what he's going to do. Will he be champion? Probably. But there's a lot of potential great matches that he's going to have. You know, Bobby Roode in particular.
It's going to be glorious.
Yeah, I just can't believe he's back. I just can't believe they brought him back. And
he's not even the first of the many freaking surprises.
Yeah, especially at WrestleMania.
Oh.
And Raw as well. And in a way, well, Raw had the better of surprises because SmackDown only had Ty Dillinger and a few others as well, which didn't, Ty Dillinger. The Ty Dillinger surprise just went over my head, and Nakamura as well, going to SmackDown. But like I say, with the shake-up coming this Monday, that might not last. But yeah, you know what? Let's do it. WrestleMania. Let's talk about it. Let's just get it on, get it over with. WrestleMania. Let's not put that out anymore. What would you take of the pre-show? Because the pre-show, for those of you that didn't know, which I'm sure you all do, was the Cruiserweight Championship, Neville and Austin Aries.
Yes.
The Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal.
Oh.
And what was meant to be the Women's SmackDown Championship match, thanks to the fans, the audience, allowing it to be, or convincing WWE to put it on the main card, it got swapped around, and poor old Dean Ambrose and Baron Corbin got the brunt of that with the Intercontinental Championship. But that was the pre-show. I still believe, and I'll say this to this very day, the Cruiserweight title was awesome, and it should have been on the main card. I can understand why the Battle Royal was on the pre-show, because of Mojo Rawley winning it. I was expecting Braun Strowman to win it, and then I realised, it clicked into my head, I should have known the way they were building up Mojo and everything. Mojo ends up winning it. And Dean Ambrose and Baron Corbin had their match, and it was a whatever match, and Dean Ambrose win like I predicted. So what was your take on all three of them matches?
The Dean and Corbin one, it was alright. I mean, I wasn't emotionally invested in it as I wanted to be.
Neither was I.
The Cruiserweight match, yeah, I definitely was engaged from beginning to end. The way Neville, kind of dug his finger in Aries' eye socket to get the win.
Yeah.
I wasn't too happy about it. I was really hoping that Aries would win, but...
Yeah, the same eye socket that he injured when he fought Nakamura.
Yep. And then, as far as the Battle Royal, I was so excited to see Mojo win. I love Mojo Rawley. I'm a huge Mojo Rawley fan. So... And I had been following him on I'd watched Breaking Ground on the network, and they explained the story. So when I saw him at the Battle Royal, I was like, he's got to win it. He's got to win it. He's got to win it. Like, I feel like he deserves to win it because, when he first started, they kind of stuck him with Zack Ryder, and I kind of felt like it wasn't fair to him to be, stuck with somebody, because it was almost like they were saying, well, you're not really good enough on your own. We're going to stick you with somebody that's a little bit more well-known. And he pretty much had to, bust his ass just to kind of make himself stand out, as part of the team. So for him to have this WrestleMania moment, I was crying. I kid you not, I was crying. Tears were literally pouring down my face. I was so happy for him.
Yeah, I mean, I was expecting Braun to win. I was hoping Braun would win. Just to get that.
I thought it was funny when everybody threw Big Show out.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the end of Big Show's WrestleMania WWE career, from what I've been told. Anyway, that apparently he's wrapping up. He was wrapping up after WrestleMania. Whether he still continues now remains to be seen. But yeah, when Braun got eliminated, I thought, fuck, he's winning it. Mojo Rawley's winning it. And I should have known because of the way they were building him up on SmackDown. Because usually when you build up somebody like that, in the way that they did with Mojo, 9 times out of 10, he's winning it. And I should have known, I should have been aware of that. And the thought of him challenging next year at WrestleMania for the Intercontinental Championship, or the US title, or whatever show he's on, or whatever title he's going to get, in a way kind of scares me. But hopefully they'll do something this time with him and Zack Ryder. I don't know when Zack's back. Apparently he's out injured at the moment, but I don't know when he's back. Maybe they'll put the tag straps on him and Zack this time. The high blows.
No, I felt it was unfair what they did to Zack Ryder though when he won the Money in the Bank. What was it, Money in the Bank?
The ladder match last year. Last year when they won the Intercontinental Champion, when he won the Intercontinental title and lost it 24 hours later to Miz.
I felt that was so rude.
It was WWE royally fucked him that night. I'm sorry, that's the only polite way of putting that. They basically said, "Oh yeah, we'll give you your WrestleMania moment," and then the next night, Raw, "Hey, you get in the corner, we'll just piss on you." There you go. Drop the title to Miz, we're done. Kind of thing. That was bullshit.
Yeah.
Complete bullshit. But what was the point of giving him his WrestleMania moment if you were just going to fuck him over the next night, which No. Made no sense whatsoever, in my opinion. But anyway, what do you think of the New Day as hosts? If you enjoy the Wrestling Matters podcast, why not check out the Wrestling Matters podcast right now on YouTube at AJW Wrestling Matters. You can also check it out on SoundCloud at Wrestling_Matters_podcast. That's /Wrestling_Matters_podcast. Also, check it out on Radio Big World as well. For more information on them, you can check them out on SoundCloud and the Swerve Talk Network as well. For more each and every week of the Wrestling Matters podcast, weekly podcast that talk about the best in professional wrestling today, whether it's WWE, Ring of Honor, TNA, ICW, Progress Wrestling, and the list goes on and on. Only the best in professional wrestling. Why? Because wrestling matters, ladies and gentlemen. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. That is about it for this episode of the Wrestling Matters podcast. Look out for the future interviews that are coming up on this podcast as well, with Nikki Adams, Mike Law as well, and Kip Stevens. Hopefully they'll be done in the back end of May. I have been a little bit overworked at the moment, so I'm going to try and sort them out for the back end of May with my job and everything else coming in between. I've got a few things I need to do as well outside of it, and I need to work on a few other things as well, so hopefully they'll be done, or we'll get them started in May. But until then, I hope you guys are enjoying the Lexa Rose interview as well. Also, guys, look out for Dark as well, Michael Larkin's friend, apparently an ICW guy, and one of these episodes of the Wrestling Matters podcast may very well be an ICW special as well. We're just going to talk ICW. I'll have to look into that, see if he talks about other promotions as well, like WWE and all that. If not, we'll just talk ICW, because I just wanted somebody to talk about ICW, and I'm going to get my wish. So look out for that as well. Also, the Swerve Talk Network, you know the crack, guys, each and every week. Max Wrestling, Offshoot Radio, Ruthless Aggression, Sunday Segway, S&M Show, Wrestling Unleashed, and the other stuff as well. Please check it out each and every week. You will not be disappointed. Also, Facebook.com/WM Podcast, at WM Podcast on Twitter. Look Wrestling Matters Podcast up on SoundCloud. Look us up on Radio Big World as well. Look them up on SoundCloud. Also, AJW Wrestling Matters. I am got some work in the pipelines. I'm going to start doing some reviews on that channel as well very, very soon. I've got all the necessary equipment that I need to do and get everything sorted, because I'm on the quest right now to get rid of Wi-Fi from my computers. Period. Because Wi-Fi is a fucking pain in the ass, and it sucks. If you guys have got good Wi-Fi to stream your stuff and everything like that, then more power to you. But I can promise you right now, Wi-Fi sucks for streaming. You need to get cables. And I've got cables for my PS4, and I'm looking to get some cables as well for my laptop as well, so I can just have no Wi-Fi and just have it all run through cable as well, because I need that. I need it now, because Wi-Fi is really a fucking piss take. So look out for them as well. Subscribe to the Wrestling Matters channel as well. We have 300 subscribers on there as well. It will probably be more once I get everything sorted out, because everybody will probably want to have a look at it, and it's going to be good. So look out for that coming up as well, and tune into next week's episode of the Wrestling Matters podcast, episode 160. Thank you very much for listening. Download this for free on SoundCloud and enjoy the rest of the week, and I'll see you next time. Peace out, guys.